Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. It's an honor to stand before you. My name is Mike Cartwright. I'm a 21-year veteran, Deputy Sheriff, Hillsborough, Tampa County, Florida, free state of Florida. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to tell you it's an honor to stand before you. I want to make sure that each and every one of you know that there's a lot of other great American patriots here in the audience. I want to take this time, if you would, please pay attention, please follow this request. If you served in law enforcement, past or present, active or retired, veteran, if you served our country in the United States military in any branch, past or present, reserve, if you served our country, if you took that oath to protect our country from foreign and domestic invasion, please stand now and let us recognize and honor you. Please stand. Thank you for your service to our country. Thank you for taking that oath. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. There's another group I'd like to quickly recognize, and that's the elected officials, both past and present. There are many of them here. If you are a past or present elected official and you took much that same similar oath, please stand and let us recognize you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, you politicians, sit down. You're not going to get a chance at the microphone. I got it right now. There's an old saying here in Florida that one of the most dangerous places is between our sheriffs and a microphone. So I serve proudly, and I'm very grateful that I had an opportunity to do that, and I'm very grateful to stand here in front of you. And so I'm still trying to serve. So I have an exhibit, our table out there. I hope that you stop by. There's federal government overreach that you'll be hearing more about it. So one of the campaigns and websites and exhibits we have is Save America from the U.S. Capitol Police. We believe that that is a violation of our 10th Amendment states' rights. So please help support that campaign. We also have another website and campaign, Save America from illegalimigration.com. I hope you'll visit that site. I hope you'll visit my table. I can tell you more about that. We're also working on Save America with election integrity, and we hope to talk to you and that you'll visit our website and learn more about that. I was here to make a formal introduction. Imagine that, the most informal person in this room making the most formal of introductions. What an honor it is. In 1995, this gentleman in his office of elected official as the sheriff stood before the Environmental Protection Association and the Army Corps of Engineers as they tried to shut down the livelihood of their county, Graham County, Arizona, by closing a bridge that was necessary for that community to be able to carry on its daily duties. He stood up and helped thwart them and told them that you're acting as law enforcement and you're not, and if you will continue to do so, I will arrest you. You'll also get to hear a little bit about his case in which he stood against more federal government overreach, and you will hear about the title that he is to speak on, the lawsuit that saved the office of sheriffs. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please rise and warmly welcome one of our hosts, Sheriff Richard Mack. Thank you.
No, he wasn't supposed to tell you to rise. No, sit down. Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, a lot of people don't know that part about the Sheriff Mack story. We actually had a bridge wash out, and the Army Corps of Engineers and EPA came in and warned the county commissioners. Now, I have nothing to do with fixing bridges. None of you sheriffs have anything to do with fixing bridges. But after the Army Corps of Engineers and EPA came in and said, you cannot fix the bridge until we say you can. And they said, we have to do an environmental impact study. 10 months later, the bridge is still not fixed. And so the county supervisors in Arizona and California, as they're called, county commissioners, voted unanimously, 3-0, to fix the bridge, the federal government notwithstanding. And so then they got really ticked, and they said, we're going to charge you $35,000 a day for every day you're trying to fix the bridge. We're going to arrest all three of you, the county commissioners. They're going to arrest them. And they're going to arrest all the maintenance workers. Well, they wouldn't need to charge us $35,000 a day if they just go arrest them the first day, you know, it's over, you know. So then I got involved, and I called both groups into my office. I asked them if they knew that I was already suing the federal government. They said they knew. And I said, but most of the time I get along with everybody, and I intend to get along with you, but this is the way it's going to be. If you try to arrest anybody in my county, I will arrest you. And I said, I'm not kidding. You know? So the next day, I didn't tell them they had to leave. I don't have the authority to banish people from my county. Maybe a judge could do that. But I didn't tell them they had to leave, but they left. And I was glad they left, but they did, they left. And then we fixed the bridge. We didn't pay a dime in fines. Nobody went to jail. And the people of our community were finally served after the federal government got the hell out of the way, you know? So then the end of that story, 15 years later, my son was working as a nurse in downtown Phoenix. And he was working in a cardiac unit, and a husband came in to visit his wife, who was actually there after a heart attack. And he got to talking to my son after he saw him a few days, and he said, hey, where are you from? Are you from Arizona? He goes, yeah, I'm from Safford, Arizona. Safford is the county seat of Graham County, where I grew up. And the guy started chuckling a little bit. He goes, no kidding. I used to work for the EPA, and the sheriff there ran us all out of town. And my son told him, well, that just happened to be my dad, you know? So they had a nice laugh and a nice talk. Folks, the whole thing boils down to this. What's the proper role of government? And where do we see that anywhere? Well, it's really not in the Constitution unless you try to look at the preamble and say, oh yeah, to form a more perfect union, establish justice, and the 6 principles talked about there. But where it really gets specific is right after life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The next 10 words tell all of us what our purpose is in all government. That, to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. The job of your sheriff, your government teachers, your sheriff, your dog catcher, doesn't matter, doesn't matter. From the dog catcher all the way down to the president. Their job, thank you, that was a joke. Well, maybe it wasn't. Well, maybe it is, yeah. It's our job to protect civil rights. And so hopefully we can get something up here. I'm pushing the right arrow. Maybe you need to push it for me. There we go. Keep going. This isn't working. Keep going.
The YouTube video
No,
going viral.
We don't have time for that one. Okay, this real quickly. I think, yeah. Okay, does anybody know who that lady is sitting down in there in the middle? She's Governor Grisham of New Mexico. And she's holding a press conference. You know what she just told them? I can make gun control anytime I want. Because if I declare an emergency, then I can nullify the Second Amendment. And she goes, and then this is what really got everybody. There's nothing in the Constitution that is absolute, including my oath of office. So she admitted to everybody she's a liar, and it's because it's nothing absolute. And then let's watch what her sheriff says next. Keep going. Yeah, you're gonna have to click it. Keep clicking, right. There we go. Now play that. hit spacebar or click it again. Just hit right arrow again. Hit right arrow.
I have a fact for you. Criminals do not follow the law or a public health order. Is there a realistic way to enforce this order? No, there is not, because we'll cut that conversation off because it's unconstitutional. So there's no way we could enforce that order.
Ha! Now, Sheriff Allen, I called him and he didn't really want to talk to me too much because he didn't want to actually join the constitutional sheriffs of America. You know, he didn't want to be one of us, but I told him he was, and I was really proud of him, and he actually was very friendly, but he was worried that he was going to be, you know, named a CSPOA sheriff, you know, and I said, well, you did that on your own already. You can't blame me for that. And I said, we're really proud of what you did, because he's a Democrat, and his governor's a Democrat. And then guess what? This is how this will snowball, folks. Once it starts, it will keep going. The chief of police of Albuquerque said the same thing. That's the Bernalillo County Sheriff, Sheriff Allen. That's the greater Albuquerque area. Chief of police said the same thing. We're not enforcing that. Then guess what? The AG, the Attorney General of the state of New Mexico, came out and said the same thing. Folks, and all three are Democrats. All four were Democrats. See, we don't care what party you are. We care if you stand for the civil rights of every single person in your community. Did you notice anything dangerous here? Did you notice anything that was paramilitary violence? But I have never committed an act of violence. We at CSPOA have never advocated for any type of violence. And this is a peaceful and effective process. When you have sheriffs that are willing to stand, when you have sheriffs like here, Sheriff Bob Songer, who's sitting here, and Brad Rogers, and Dar Leaf, and Mark Lamb, and it goes on and on. If you get involved with your pastors, and they get involved working with their sheriffs, this movement, this battle to restore freedom to America and to restore our Constitution as the supreme law of the land, it will remain peaceful. But if the sheriffs aren't involved, and if the people aren't involved, this will not remain peaceful. We have one chance left. And we better take advantage of it very soon. Some things are going to really go awry really badly this year. 2024 is going to be a horrible year for America, and we better be prepared and we better be ready. Should you have a solar generator? Should you have satellite phones? Should you have food storage? Should you have guns and ammo? Yes, 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 absolutely. Next one, we're gonna go past some here. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Look at that. You know what, folks? People think that I said this, that I made this up. Do you know where Dr. King was when he came out with this statement? He wrote a letter. Where was he? He was in jail in Birmingham County, Alabama, because he, like Donald Trump, got arrested more than 30 times. And both of them are and were battling. Their battle was against corrupt government. They act like Martin Luther King was, he was just this big hero and he was so peaceful and everything. Yeah, but he was a hero because he was fighting your corrupt government. 30 arrests against this man who had never committed a crime. Over 30 arrests against Trump, who has never committed a crime. At least none of the ones he's been charged with. There are two types of laws, Dr. King said, just and unjust. I would be the first to advocate obeying just laws. One has not only a legal but a moral responsibility to obey just laws. Conversely, he said, one has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. And then you know what politicians and the media would have you believe? That only the United States Supreme Court can tell you what's just and what's unjust. You don't get to think for yourself. And then, you know what? I went to the Supreme Court. I stood in the Supreme Court. I went over and shook James Brady's hand, who was in his wheelchair, when we were in the Supreme Court in December of 1996. And do you know what I found out? They only take 1% of the cases across their desk. So the rest of the 99%, you're just SOL, buddy. It's not gonna do you any good. And government and sheriffs or police or whoever can just keep violating your civil rights, and there's not a thing you can do about it until you hear somehow the Supreme Court's gonna say differently. That is an absolute lie. You know who's responsible to determine what's just and unjust or unconstitutional? The person who swore the oath. You are responsible for keeping your oath. Do you think we go into court and we go, yeah, I promise to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God? Oh, by the way, only as long as the Supreme Court lets me, or my sergeant, or my lieutenant, or the legislature, then I'll keep my oath. Balderdash. That didn't do it quite. I'm gonna do it. Trump said that he had to cuss just the other day to really give it right. That's bull-loney. Okay, next one, keep going. We're trying to get to this one that talks about, next one. Next one. Oh, these are the two sheriffs that went to the Supreme Court right there. Yep, Mack and Prince. Mack Prince case, go. Keep going. Forward. We have held, however, that state legislatures are not subject to federal direction. The Supreme Court case that I did is in this little booklet. I put all the highlights, the most important parts in this little booklet. It's over at my table where my beautiful wife is gonna be helping me afterwards. You want this review. Justice Scalia wrote this for the majority, and it went 10 times further than I ever dreamed or imagined. I was thrilled with it. This is one quote that Scalia put in from the New York case of 1992, where he says, we have held, however, that state legislatures are not subject to federal direction. Don't you wish your state legislature knew that? That's where you come in. Next one. Forward. Keep going. We're gonna, in this decision and in the Brady bill itself, it called the sheriffs the Clio. What's a Clio, Sheriff Lamb? Chief Law Enforcement Officer. Thank you, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Ooh, there's a good one. Keep going. Keep going. Wait. The great innovation of this design, in other words, of our constitutional republic, is that our citizens would have two political capacities, one state and one federal. Get this, each protected from incursion by the other. We've got another one about this. This is in the Supreme Court decision. Keep going. Ah, yes. I really love this one. Folks, you need to absorb this. This separation of the two spheres is one of our Constitution's structural protections of liberty. Are you getting that? Just as the separation and independence of the coordinate branches of the federal government serve to prevent the accumulation of excessive power in any one branch, get this, a healthy balance of power between the states and the federal government will reduce the risk of tyranny and abuse from either front. When you came to this meeting, when you came to this conference, did you want to know how to reduce the risk of tyranny and abuse? Then you came to the right meeting. Next one. Look at that. Scalia is quoting Federalist 51. Hence, a double security arises to the rights of the people. The different governments will control each other at the same time that each will be controlled by itself. Any question as to whether or not the federal government will control itself? Why do people always laugh when I ask that? Next one. Resist the temptation, for sure. Next one. Okay. I'm going to leave that there, but I actually, in this decision, Scalia talked about that the federal government was only granted discrete enumerated powers. What does enumerated mean? Okay. You can number them. You can number them. You can enumerate it. Okay, you can go through the Constitution and number each one. Well, you know what, folks? I took the challenge. I went through the entire Constitution and I numbered every power that was delegated to them. Delegated? Who delegated to them? The states, or we the people, whichever one. There's three answers: the founding fathers, the states, or we the people. And all three would be correct. Okay? So I went through them. It didn't even total 40. Now, why didn't I say it exactly came up with 37 and a half? No, because there's some that you could count two, like cruel and unusual punishment. Is that two or is that one? Or excessive fines and bail. Is that one or is that two? So it doesn't change anything. But even stretching it, it did not even come to 40. The federal government was only granted, let's say, 39 powers, period, end of story. How do we keep them that way? The states and we the people have to make sure we don't let them out of their lane of traffic. And we have. And that's the problem. Now we have a lot of work to do to take it back. But let's go over something real quickly, just so you know this. Do not forget this. You can look this up yourself in the Constitution. Do you know how many law enforcement powers were delegated by the states to the new federal government? It's not zero, don't say zero. It's almost zero. 5. 5. Let's name them real quick. Treason. Don't you wish that somebody would investigate the treason in Washington, D.C.? Do you know what we want? Why would not sheriffs and state police being directed by the governor? Don't get me wrong. The sheriffs are not directed by the governor. You can do it on your own. Every sheriff can do an investigation on his own. Doesn't have to ask permission from anybody. Sheriffs should start investigating the treason committed by our own federal government, the White House and other officials, of aiding and abetting illegal immigration into our country. Look what it has done. Look what it's done to our country. Do you think anybody in the federal government's going to investigate that? Then I'll be fired. We have to do it. The states have to step up. So the governors could direct the state police to do it. They could direct the attorney general to do it. And I know some attorney generals that would do it. A.G. Paxton in Texas, I guarantee you he would do it. Yeah, right, he knows him. And so why aren't we starting that? This needs to be our big push. Investigate the criminals of Washington, D.C. They have committed treason. Okay, so number one, treason. Number two, counterfeiting. Counterfeiting, okay, it's a federal offense. 3, felonies committed on the high seas or piracies. 4, you're gonna love this one. This is outside Article 1, Section 8. It's in Article 4, Section 4. They are required, they shall, the federal government, United States government, shall protect our borders from invasion. So they have violated that, obviously, and thus the need for an investigation. And then number 5 doesn't, it's kind of an innocuous one, but it's still there. And that laws against nations or treaties that we have with other nations. You go into Canada and violate one of those treaties, it's a federal offense, okay? Your sheriff won't be investigating that, but he could if he wanted to. But if the federal government refuses to do what has been lawfully delegated to them, can the states take it back and do it? Of course they can. If I delegate something to you and you don't do it, I can take it back, of course. The federal government was a creature of the states, not the other way around. They did not form us, and they are not our boss. Folks, man, we got a lot to do. Where am I in time? You guys didn't boo him when he said 7 minutes. He can't count. I have 7.5. Okay, but I'm not going to use them. Thank you, Rick. Oh, well. I got to tell you, when I was suing the Clintons, I really did some history checking on the Clinton, especially Governor Clinton and all the different lawsuits that were filed against him. You know what? I was the only person in history to sue Bill Clinton on a non-sexual matter. Yeah. Okay, no sub-jokes to that, okay? No sub-jokes, okay? So, folks, let's just remember why we're here and that we're doing everything we can for our children and our grandchildren to keep this battle peaceful. But Mark was absolutely correct. We're in a battle. And I pray that we will keep it peaceful. And that's going to take us standing and doing, donating, working with our local authorities. And in just a little bit, we're going to hear about local action, national impact. And it's the only place we have left, folks. No matter who gets president, this is going to not bode well for America. And I pray that he gets back into office. But I feel sorry for him, what he will be facing. And I think they might even do that intentionally. Put him back in so the violence will take over. I don't know, folks. I just don't feel good about this. I thank all of you for being here tonight. I'll speak again tomorrow, and we're going to go over a few more of these things for my Supreme Court case. It's a pretty powerful case. And I'll leave with this. But the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. It divides power among sovereigns and among branches of government precisely so that we may resist the temptation to concentrate power in one location as an expedient solution to the crisis of the day, end quote. The crisis of the day, folks, that they caused and will cause again, COVID-19, and then bring us the solution on a silver platter that we in government will take care of you because you're too stupid to take care of yourself, and we will do it for you. And that will be directed from a communist by the name of Kamala Harris. Folks, we've got lots to do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. To that end, I pray the good Lord to bless us all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.